What's poppin', bees? Okay, so this is a little video and a guide on controlling the last read recoil. There's going to be a lot of conversation. There already is a lot of conversation about this going on, and I'm going to throw in my tips and tricks on how to do it. So first of all, let's just be straight here. It's super fucking hard. It's really hard to control the recoil, and it definitely takes more than a few games just to master it. That's one of the things that this last word has. You know, that one of the pains. It's hard to control. I'm sure you've seen this many of times, but we're just going to show the recoil patterns. Hipfire and ADS is two completely different things, and this gun is made for hip firing. Let me show you. Okay, so hold on. It's very vertical. I'm going to do it right here as well. Jerk my mouse to the left and right there, but basically it's fairly vertical, like basically almost vertical. So I'm gonna do ADS. It's a little staggered to the left and right, but it's still fairly vertical. Okay, you guys know this now. Very simple. People, because of this insane recoil, people are saying that the last word is basically dookie at this point. No, by now most people have known to somewhat moderately control the recoil. I'm here to help you master that recoil in such a sense where the last word's actually very predictable in many ways. And this is going to come very handy when playing the Crucible. I'm also going to do like a little response to True Vanguard. If you ever somehow watch this, I'd like to know your feedback. That's it. Okay, now let's get into it. So we already know that the recoil pattern is vertical. It's just straight vertical. Now we're going to learn how to control it. But if we fire 3 shots, we can see that the middle one is a little off to the left. Okay, now if we fire 5 shots, right here, we could see that the middle one went to a little bit to the right while it came back into the center and straightened up, but then steered off to the right or to the left a little. If we go over here and test it one more time, fired 7 shots, we can see that once again about the middle, steered to the right, straightened up, and went practically vertical at that point. Let's fire all 8 shots. Now, if you saw the recoil, it went to the right, strafed off into the left, back to middle. You can use this to kind of help with your recoil pattern. Have I mastered it? No. But basically, you want to kind of learn how to play it well. Because if you learn how to play that recoil, that very predictable recoil pattern, you can learn how to kind of readjust the bullets. Now, it's not the best thing, but if you put in small specks of that kind of mastery, you will eventually master it to where you can perfectly center the bullet, and you are basically a Deadeye. Now that we covered the hard tip, let's focus on some other things before we get on to the bread and butter. We hip fire. Once again, that medium bullet kind of steers off to the right. But with hip firing, it's a bit of the 4th shot. Then on the 6th shot, it steered off to the left a little. Once again, you can kind of use this to straighten your pattern. Am I a master at this? No, not at all. It's really hard to master, especially when you have to do such little jerky movements. I just killed myself. But yeah. Basically, just a little quick reminder there. Every 3rd shot on ADS is going to wander off. Not by much, but it will. Every 4th shot while hip firing will wander off a little off to the right. Now that second one went off a little to the left. That one's more of a zigzag pattern. It's all very unpredictable in that kind of manner, but it's every 3rd to 4th shot that it will predictably steer. Sometimes you will get the usual zigzag pattern, but overall, nothing the hitbox forgiveness in this game can't fix. Controlling the recoil, however, is as simple as pulling your trigger down. I have 3 setups with me here today. I have my mouse and keyboard setup combined with a Zim Apex. It's a great setup. I also have the standard controller, and I also have the KontrolFreek you put on the aiming analog stick. We're going to try out each one starting from most common to least common. And of course, we're going to start off with the regular controller. So, here I am aiming on a regular controller. Fairly vertical. Now, if we steer the analog stick down just a tad bit, you will see it is extremely centered. Just a tad, enough to where it makes the gun different. That's enough to basically murder people. Now, I'm gonna kill myself a lot, just letting you know. Now, we're gonna do the ADS test with the controller, of course. The ADS test is a lot harder, but you're gonna need to pull down your analog stick a lot more. As you can see, it's a lot harder to master, but the more element you put into this, the better it'll get. Already, it's looking like a better spread, and you really have to predict it well. Is it easy? No. I'm not used to controller. That one was a bit off to the left, but it was a tighter grouping horizontal-wise. That one was very good. So now that we tested that out, we're going to throw on the KontrolFreek here, and we're going to see how this does. If you don't know, KontrolFreeks extend the analog stick to where basically it's more sensitive in a way where you pull down just a little, it will do a lot. And that's good for aiming, and for FPSs especially. Now, it might not be that much of a difference, but in the long run, it will help. Now we have hipfire, a lot easier to control. That's enough to murder some people. As you can see, it is just a lot different with hipfire and ADS. Even though I've already said it, it's a lot different. So, how do you fix this? Adding small elements into your game, focusing on the fact that you need to pull down on your ADS is going to help a lot. Will it help at first? Probably not. But with time and dedication, you will come, with a lot better of a, a lot tighter of a spread. Now, we're going to test mouse and keyboard. Mouse and keyboard is known to have just a much better just aiming factor, but here on console it is a lot harder because your console doesn't know that there's a mouse and keyboard in there. All it knows is that there's a USB and it's identified as a controller. So on PC this is a lot different because if you do plug in a controller, it will know that it is a controller plugged in. Even though the recoil patterns are completely different, the hipfire on The Last Word on console is a lot more predictable and accurate. This has been tested a couple times by pro players, and it's not a surprise by me. It's meant to be hip-fired, but on console, to where the hipfire is basically buffed, and Bungie knew what they were doing, they made it to where the ADS on PC was more of a viable option, while on console it's more of a hipfire option. Basically, from here to maybe that block, our hipfire is always going to hit. It's very simple. ADS wise, probably not. So let's test out the recoil patterns with mouse and keyboard. As you can see, it's a lot easier to paste your shot with just minor movements. This is a mouse and keyboard. If you don't believe me, then so be it. ADS, as you can see, it is tight as a freaking virgin's booty hole. It is a lot more of a difference. Now, before you call me a scumbag, I am one, I know. But mouse and keyboard, I love to test things on mouse and keyboard. That is my thing, especially knowing the true factor of recoil and how a mouse can truly affect a recoil, the pattern of recoil, and how easy it is to control it. That can kill people, especially those 4 shots right there. That can kill a person. That can kill a person. That can kill a person. That can kill a person with ease. These 2 might be out of the hitbox, but these 6 right here will kill a person if you're aiming at their head. So now that we tested that, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on really how to control the recoil. Now, the most simple one I can give you is just pull your analog stick down. It's practically vertical anyway, right? So, obviously, just pull down on your stick. Now, that recoil pattern I showed you earlier, where, every 3rd or 4th bullet would go to the right a little, pull that in. Every 3rd bullet, 4th bullet. On ADS, it's every 3rd or 4th, 3rd bullet. A lot more vertical of a spread, ain't it? Now that one is a bit messed up by me, but a lot tighter of a spread, ain't it? A lot tighter of a spread. As you can see, pulling in that predictable pattern, if you count every 3, the 6th one will go to the left, you pull it to the right. Now, the first or the 3rd shot will go to the right, pull it to the left a little. The 6th shot will go to the left, pull it to the right a little. It will go back up. But make sure that once you hit that 3rd shot, you instantly adjust your analog stick or mouse back to where it originally was. Because if you do end up, going to the left a little, or to the, going to the left a little, and you keep it at the left, that same pattern will just happen on the left. It's not going to work. As you can see, I kind of gave up on controlling the recoil right there. But yeah, keeping it at a tight spread like that will kill a person. And that was pretty tight. That one was off a bit. So yeah, the recoil is a lot easier to control on a mouse and keyboard. We all know that. So my biggest tip, if you have the money, get a mouse and keyboard. I'm just kidding. Control Freaks. Great investment. They're about 15 bucks. They're what I used before I used mouse and keyboard, and it is a big not adjustment, but change. Just big change. Very simple. A nice big change. Okay, now that we're done with that, tips on how to ADS. Okay, very simple tip, and I know this is gonna suck. I really do. Most of you guys don't have it. The freaking ornament. I don't know what Bungie was thinking, but hold on. Well, let me fucking apply it, please. Come on. Come on, Bungie. Thank you. So, applying the ornament, in my opinion, just has better sight. It's just, in my opinion, it has better sights for ADSing. Now, the regular last word just looks a lot better, in my opinion. But the freaking ornament just, it has much more open sights. And if it will let me just put it on, gosh darn. But the last word just has, it has much more open, clear sights, and they're much more forgiving. So it's like, it's just much better in my opinion. It feels more precise, and it's not pay to win in my opinion. It's just pay to adjust, kind of thing. It's not really gonna change and improve your game too much, but in my opinion, the ornament really does make a big difference. Other than that, what else do I have to say about ADSing? Predict your target. Seriously. That's it. That's it for ADS. Pull your analog stick down, use the Lasonic ornament, and track your target. Very simple. If you can put all those 3 in a game, or just the last 2, at least, put the last 2 and put small increments of improvement in each game, and 10 games max, you will learn how to adjust the recoil very nice, to the point where you can kill people from range. Okay, hip firing. First of all, hip firing is what this gun's made to do. It has hip fire grip, and its exotic perk is about hip firing. It'll grant extra accuracy. They are really wanting you to hip fire this thing. Obviously, hip fire it. But I'm going to tell you when to hip fire it. When your target is, in my opinion, at this range, hip firing is okay. When your target is at that range, tapping the hip fire, that's okay. When your target is at like that range, ADS. ADS does have a longer range. It has been proven, so just don't argue with me. At super long range, tap, hip fire, only chip away health. Don't go and commit to the kill from a range like here. If you can, throw a couple shots into them, and then that's it. Next thing you know, when you're jumping, hip fire. It is much more accurate in the air. Don't aim down sights unless you're dropping onto them. If there's an enemy right here and I'm dropping onto him, I will aim down sights just because he's in that close of range. But when an enemy's over here, I usually hip fire them just because it's a lot more accurate. If I'm sliding around the corner, I will not be afraid to hip fire. But there's one exception. When I go and turn around the corner, I hip fire into an ADS. Because that actually is a very nice thing to do when surprising your enemy. Tapping them twice and hip fire, ADSing, and then going into, you know, having that ADS accuracy but not punish yourself too much. That is something truly remarkable. Okay? So don't sleep on that. Don't sleep on that, please. See that grouping right there? If that was an enemy's head, he'd be dead. Very simple. Practice that, seriously. Okay, the video's getting pretty long, so I really just want to say a couple more things before we quit. If Bungie ever decides to buff the stability on the thing, it's a win-lose for me. It's win for casual players because casual players be able to ADS and they're used to ADSing. They're not used to really hip firing this thing. But for pro players, on the other hand, that could also be a bad thing, but also a good thing in my opinion. At ranges, pro players will murk you. But if a casual player knows how to ADS, an above average player knows how to ADS, then they could easily outgun a pro player up at range. Yeah. It's very simple. I'm trying to think of anything else that I wanted to, note for. Any kind of situation that I would put myself in. I always hip fired the thing. Oh, and when an enemy's at point blank range, 2-tap melee. Hip fire. Seriously. No ADS. Hip fire, 2-tap them in the body. Melee. Shotgun rushers love to get in your face, but if you can pull a juke on them, get in the air, and hip fire them from above, easy sauce, right? But if they come around the corner, and you're like, dang, boom, done, annihilated. It's an easy way to get a kill. So, just be unpredictable with this thing as well. Being unpredictable, moving around corners, freaking strafing. Very simple. Very simple. Sliding with this thing, staying low to the ground. Being very unpredictable is a great way to use the last word. Don't sleep on it. Don't say it's bad either. This gun is one of the most powerful hand cannons in the entire game. Now for basic use, probably not Forgotten will beat this thing, but for skilled use and sniping, this is the gun. Okay, this video is long enough, but I've saved this part just for the people who want that extra content, okay? I want to talk about the catalyst. So for the catalyst, I want either counterbalance stock to make this thing perfectly recoil, or stability masterwork. That'll fix your nerfing issue, or your buffing issue to the stability, and at the same time, it'll just be a lot better. The counterbalance stock, on the other hand, will make it perfectly recoil, making it easier to control the recoil and not have to deal with that unpredictable pattern of your right every 3 shots it goes to the right or the left. Any others, I would like a range masterwork or a magazine masterwork, masterworking it up to 10 bullets, maybe even hybrid the two and give it 10 bullets and 20 extra stability, or 20 extra stability and 20 range, being able to map people with this thing, but still having that, somewhat skill gap, because 20 range won't make a big difference on this thing, but at range it will make enough of a difference for someone to know and adding an extra 20 range will be just amazing. Other than that, that's pretty much it for the last word. This thing, the Catalyst has a lot of potential. Ooh, an Icarus grip mod could be pretty good on this thing as well, making it into like a powerhouse sidearm. But other than that, I really have nothing else to say. Discuss what you want in the comments. If you want me to say anything, have any certain situations you want to tell me about, I will answer them and I will give you my best answer. Catalyst discussion, please go ahead. Tell me what you think a good catalyst on the last word would be. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Please leave a like, possibly subscribe. It would make my day. Peace out.